All right, this is Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast. For this special extra standalone segment of the Lakers Legacy Podcast, I am glad to be joined again by Late Night Lake Show's Ricky Barnes. Ricky, it's been a long time. Thanks for coming back on to chop it up. Before we get started, why don't you reintroduce yourself to our audience and plug anything you want to plug?
Yeah, no, we feels like we were just here, man.
I know, exactly.
But you guys can find me at Mr. Ricky Spanish across all social media platforms. More importantly, go ahead and subscribe and follow the Late Night Lake Show podcast. Late Night Lakers on Twitter/X, but Late Night Lake Show wherever you get your hashtag good content, man. I hate that we're even doing this segment. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I've have fallen in love with the Lakers' new toy, and I'm not ready to give it away. But hey, I'm excited to talk to you some more. So let's get into it.
Well, if you have fallen in love with Dalton Knecht as much as you say you have, that's what this segment is for. Because you could say no to everybody on this list. And this is kind of just a segment to kind of see where we stand at this moment in time with regards to the Lakers' prized rookie. And obviously, things can change. He may shit the bed in the next 10 games. And we're like, you know what?
Yep.
Maybe I was a little too high. Because, Ricky, I remember we did this. Literally, you and I did this with a prize prospect named THT couple of
Jesus.
years ago, and yeah, we may have been a little too in over our heads. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe head over heels with regards to
Right.
THT, calling him the next James Harden, the next Paul Pierce. So again, I just want to put everything in context and say that we are doing this in this place and time, in this context and time, December, November, whenever you're listening to this. And so, yeah, the purpose of this episode and the premise of this segment is simple. It's called Who Would We Actually Trade Dalton Knecht For? Again, at this place and time, in this place and time. Um, so, yeah, again, our thoughts may obviously change down the road, but based off of what we've seen and how realistic or insane our future projections of this kid are currently, I wanted to see, Ricky, where that line in the sand is drawn for you when it comes to the type of caliber of player that we'd be willing to trade Dalton Knecht for. Because obviously, right now, as you have sort of already intimated, he's probably as close to untouchable as you can get on this roster outside of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, anything is always possible. So, with that said, I have a list of players for you that I wanted to run by you. And your job is simple. You just tell me yes or no as to whether or not you trade Dalton Knecht for this player, and then you can give me your quick rationale behind that answer.
Okay.
Um, okay, so let's get to my list. And if you have any names of your own as we go through this, please feel free to shout them out. But first, let me level set us a bit and make it clear by starting off with some surefire all-stars, okay? I think we both agree that we would most likely trade Dalton Knecht for bona fide young all-stars. So I'll give you a list of some of those players and make sure that we're on the same page. So guys I'm thinking about that we'd say yes to trading Dalton Knecht for would be Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes.
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 De'Aaron Fox.
Yes.
Yes. Paolo Banchero.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't know
Uh,
what I'll give up for Paolo, but yes. Yes.
what about Tyrese Maxey?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Maxie's a dog.
Okay, what about this guy? A player that just sank a dagger in our eye recently, Franz Wagner.
Yeah, I mean that's probably where I start taking a slight slowdown, but the answer is going to be yes. Franz is certified; he's proven in this league. Dalton is what 12 games in, right? 16
Mhm.
games in. Yes.
Okay, yep, and Franz Wagner is like the 6'10" version of Dalton Knecht, pretty much.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so that's my list of bona fide all stars that we would say yes to trading Dalton Knecht for. Now let's start to get a little bit harder, and let's move on to a list of like starter level players. Maybe they've been an all star once or twice before, or not at all. But yeah, let's go through this list. Anthony Simons out of the Portland Trailblazers.
Um, I want to say yes, right? Like Simons is another guy that can go out and get a bucket. How old is he now? This age thing might start playing into a factor because
I
Dalton's
should have put
already what?
this on my list, but let me look it up real quick. 25.
Yeah.
He's actually not that old.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean he's got the years under him already. For the sake of time, I'm gonna say yes. I think I
Okay.
would take Simons right now.
Okay. I would say no, just because Anthony Simons to me is like a slightly more athletic D'Angelo Russell. So it's like he shoots threes and he doesn't play defense. He puts up points. He's been on a bad team for a long time. I'm not really
That's
sure,
facts.
you know, what he'll be on a competitive team. I mean, I like his player profile, but yeah, I will say no for those reasons. Moving on to a similar sort of player template. What about out of Cleveland, Darius Garland?
Oh yeah, yeah. And actually, Johnny, I'm going to agree with you on the last one. I didn't
Mhm.
realize Simons was only 6'3". That's a big difference to me. Okay, but jumping back over, yeah, Darius Garland's one of the more craftier finishers in the league. I would hate to sacrifice kind of that bona fide sharp shooting in the corners. I know Garland can be a little streaky, but just for the sheer pressure that he puts on opposing defenses, especially in the backcourt, something that the Lakers know all too well about being weak in defensive athleticism in the backcourt. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and get Darius Garland.
Yeah, so this one is kind of tough for me. If I'm going based off of his playoff performance, this most recent
Well,
run, and I know he was dealing with some like jaw issue or like had an injury stricken season, so that kind of like colors my viewpoint of Darius Garland a bit. But if you
mm,
know, with regard, I mean, the way that he's playing to start this regular season and the way that the Cavaliers are playing, obviously, I think Darius Garland is showing out to be who he was when he first started his career off with the Cavaliers in terms of, I don't know, next to LeBron and AD, he could be like a Kroger Brands version of Damian Lillard a little bit.
not
So
Kroger. Yeah,
I would say a soft yes, although I can be convinced to say no as well. I'll put it there that way
you're
with Darius
whispering it.
Garland.
You're gonna whisper the
I'm
yes.
whispering it. I think it's just hard for me with like 6'3" dudes at the end of the day. You almost have to be Damian Lillard in his prime for me to be like,
Hmm.
yeah, let's do it. So, but I think Darius Garland has been on enough winning competitive teams as well that I think if you slot him into maybe like a third role with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, he can excel. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I'll do it like a soft yes. I'll trade Dalton for Darius Garland, but I could also lean very easily no. Um,
Can I throw one in there? As
yeah,
far as we're
yeah.
talking about Cavaliers, would you trade Connect for Evan Mobley?
I have Evan Mobley coming up, so let's do him
Oh
now.
shit, my bad.
Yeah,
My fault.
yes, I would because I feel like Evan Mobley would be like the perfect guy next to Anthony Davis. He's not like the burly center that you want, but Evan Mobley's almost sort of like if you remember what Anthony Davis was doing in the Olympics with Bam Adebayo, I feel like Evan
Yep,
Mobley can fill that sort of. He's a little slighter in frame than Bam, but he can do like the versatile things that Bam does, both
yep.
offensively and defensively. And he's like tall and long, and so yeah, I would say yes. What about you?
Yeah, this is a AD decision, right? I think he unlocks even more of what Anthony Davis has done. He's shown to be the defensive player of the year so far. If you're not looking at that Nuggets game, but we'll get into that another time. But I think just Evan Mobley, what he's able to do, he's a versatile defender, like you said. I'm not as concerned about the frame when the bruisers around the league. You got the big boy in Denver, but outside of that, right, you're not really dropping it down to too many other giants trying to big body on Mobley. So for the defensive purposes and the versatility alone, I'm here to maximize Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. So yeah, I'd make that trade for sure.
Yep, I agree.
I'd
That's
miss
a good
Dalton.
name.
I'd miss him, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Evan Mobley, we would both say yes to. I'm gonna go back to a guard, and he's kind of in the similar vein as Anthony Simons, Darius Garland, but he's a guard out of your home state that you live in currently right now. What about Kobe White?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, Dalton. Like Kobe, I'm biased. Also, I had a chance to interview Kobe his rookie year with the Bulls on a couple of occasions, but just to watch his ascension and his growth, he really seemed like a guy who was timid coming into the league to find his shot, find his place. But these last couple of seasons, this man has grown to be everything folks thought he would be coming out of North Carolina. Unfortunately, he is a Bugatti sitting in the middle of a trailer park with the Chicago Bulls, so not a lot of people can appreciate, I guess, what he brings to the game. But outside shot, command of the ball, a bigger guard, right?
Mhm.
He's not 6'3", right? I stood next to that guy. I'm like, damn. NBA players are big. So, yeah. And again, this is all love to Dalton, but Kobe's one of those ones that pretty close to the heart. So if we could get him in purple and gold, I got to do it.
Yeah. So Kobe White, I actually like him better than Darius Garland because of the size and because I mean, I wouldn't call him like a defensive ace, but he really tries and hustles out there.
Mhm.
So for those reasons, I'm going to go back and say no to Darius Garland, but say yes to Kobe White, or continue to give a whispered yes to Darius Garland and give a more
Right.
firm yes to Kobe White that I would trade Dalton Connect for Kobe White. And I think Kobe White's like on a really good contract right now. He's only like making $9 million a
Yep.
year, only 24 years. He's only like a year older than Dalton, which is crazy. So, yeah, unfortunately, I would say yes to Kobe White. Okay, what about this one's interesting because it's more about fit, but what about Herb Jones out of the Pelicans?
Mm. Herbert, Herbert, I'm going no. Like I can understand the piece that he fits in. But I also think he's one of those dependent pieces, right? As you know, as in like if Anthony Davis is down for a stretch, you're looking over at Herb Jones and it's like, the fuck did we trade him for? Sorry, excuse my language, but what did we trade him for again? What was that package?
Yep.
I like Herb Jones. That is truly a fit piece, but I would want to hold on to the threat of Dalton Knecht at that size, right? And his hey, but we didn't talk about this. Dalton fits, right? Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yep.
we've been praying for years. So I think I prefer Dalton's fit a little bit over Herb Jones's fit.
Yeah, if anything, you trade someone else for Herb Jones and fit him next to Dalton Connect, and boom, there you
Come
go.
on.
So yeah, I would say no to Herb Jones as well. Let's start. Okay, one last guard slash wing, and then we'll get into some big men. What about Devin Vassell out of the San Antonio Spurs?
Not as versed in Devin's game. So I'm gonna say no. You tell me.
That's fair. I would say yes if he were healthier, but I feel like he's been pretty
Mm,
injury prone over his last few years. But I mean, I really like his size. I mean, he kind of is this same template of like kind of bigger guard like Kobe White who shoots threes, can shoot, pull up off the dribble jump shots and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's intriguing, but I think just because of his prior injury history, I'll say no and go with the more athletic Energizer Bunny in Dalton Connect, who can also shoot. So no to Devin Vassell. Maybe yes if
yep.
he were healthy. Let's get into some big men. You already kind of started us off with Evan Mobley. What about Nick Claxton out of the Nets?
Hmm. That's a really good one, right? I like Nick Claxton. I like again his Evan Mobley s versatility. I just feel like the kind of the shine has come off of him the last
Mhm.
couple of seasons. I guess just riding with Brooklyn, but he he's another AD fit, right? And I think, man, that'd be a nice little pairing. Andy's got the years still in front of him. All right, I gotta go, big boy. You bias? Yes, yes, yes. I'm making the trade. I am. I am.
Yeah.
It's a great fit. Yeah.
So so I'll put this as a no, but I would understand it for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like Evan Mobley esque. They're both kind of slight in frame, but they do like the dirty work, garbage man type stuff that you want a big man to
Hmm.
do in terms of protecting the rim, rebounding the ball, both pretty athletic. The only ding that I put on Nick Claxton is he has never developed his like offensive game the way that Evan Mobley has. Like he still can't shoot a jump shot. I think he still airballs from the free throw line from time to time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's why I'd give him like a soft no, but I could definitely be convinced into saying yes for Nick Claxton. And I hope people aren't like watching this segment or listening to this segment and thinking that we're totally insane by saying yes or no to like one for one swaps, because this is, I just want to make it clear to everybody. This is literally just a projection valuation. We're not even talking about
Yeah,
what picks would have to go with Dalton Knecht, what other players you need to match salaries. This isn't like a trade machine segment, okay, everybody? We're just talking about moving forward, projecting out what we think, like, would we do it for this player or that player? In a vacuum, I think we'd all say a lot of these players are better than Dalton Knecht for experience alone, right? But we're
right.
projecting out into the future, trying to see who Dalton could become in the next 2 or 3 years. So if you think we're insane for saying no to, I can't believe you said no to Darius Garland or Anthony Simons or whatever, just making it clear it's not about the vacuum of here and now, although we are talking about the vacuum of like how high we think of Dalton right now, but it is more projecting out to the future. So I just wanted to make that clear before we move forward, because I think people are going to be like, we're going to get this clipped all over. Ricky and we're going to be infamous for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, no, and just to piggyback off of what you said, think of this conversation like Mortal Kombat, the towers, when you would
Exactly.
go through and you would fight folks one on one. We are just simply asking if Jade could hold up to Katana if they went at it one on one.
Exactly.
Would a Dalton Connect survive a Nick Claxton proposed trade opportunity, a Darius Garland one, and so on and so forth? So just
Yeah.
put the Mortal Kombat towers off to the
Yep.
side, put faces next to them, and that's the conversation what happened in NBA terms.
Yeah, and I think you could even like extend this out to like think about who the highest ceiling outcome of Dalton Connect could be. Let's say
Mhm.
Dalton Connect gets the same amount of experience that these players we're talking about already have under their belt. Who does he look like? Does he look closer to them or even better? I guess
Right.
is what we're trying to say. All right, moving forward, what about, this is a popular name, another big man, Walker Kessler out of the Utah Jazz.
Yes. He has a crazy plus minus right now. So yeah, I mean, again, now we're moving into bigger frame bigs, right? And I think Walker Kessler fits some boxes. But again, the Danny Ainge price package that he probably has on him, again, we're throwing that out the window, but if we're talking just people for people, yes, I'm gonna have to make the Walker Kessler trade. Um, Again, Anthony Davis goes down. It's going to look like a horrible acquisition, but this is, again, maximizing Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. So, yeah, Walker is definitely on my need to have him list.
Yeah, I think for me too, just in terms of fit and what the Lakers need right now. Yeah, I would go with Walker Kessler, the big. Although I will say that, like 5 years down the line, is there a scenario where Walker Kessler is a bench big man, like a situational big, and Dalton
Mm,
Connect is like a starting shooting guard, closing
yes,
games? I could definitely see that scenario.
yes.
But I think to your point, if we're trying to maximize Anthony Davis, I mean, if we're trying to maximize Anthony Davis, like let's be real, Walker Kessler may still be a bench big next to Anthony Davis in certain games. So, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
he does open up a championship window much sooner and quicker than a Dalton Connect would. So yeah, I would also say yes, I trade Dalton Connect for Walker Kessler for that reason. Um, let's see. What about hmm, what
Would you
about
trade him for
Miles
JC? Would you get
for
JC
who?
back
JC
for,
Jordan Clarkson?
yeah,
No, I would
no,
not. I
right?
think
Yeah.
there are other players that we can trade that I would trade for. I would, just to be clear, I would love Jordan Clarkson back to just get that oomph and point of attack, not point of attack, but downhill paint attacking guard off the bench. But I would
Mhm.
definitely trade somebody else on the Lakers roster than Dalton Connect. But that's a good one in terms of like we haven't had very many no's, which I kind of feel bad about. But yeah, I would not trade
Right,
Dalton
for
Connect
JC.
for Jordan Clarkson. What about, this one's tricky? What about Miles Turner on the Pacers? He is already, how old is Miles? He's already 28 years old.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Oh man, how many times have we had this conversation specifically on Miles Turner? Like I said, I was done talking about him. The last offseason, he was rumored to be traded to the Lakers. So the answer's still yes, though.
Yeah.
I I
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I think I still need Miles Turner on the Lakers,
Yeah.
and that's like one of the bigs that we haven't mentioned of being able to look good without Anthony Davis, right? Like Miles Turner is the premier big man, has been with the Pacers since he's been drafted there. You put him as one beat Anthony Davis in the front court, that's going to look scary. Something happens to AD, he could go back to his regularly scheduled programming of, his touches, his looks, and being a more focal point in the offense. So, yeah, as much as I'm sick of the conversation around this man, because he just will never, ever, ever end up in a Laker uniform. Hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm making the Miles Turner
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why I gave that like long disclaimer that I did, because most of these are yeses anyways. I don't think anybody is going to
Yeah,
call us insane for saying yes to trading for like former
right.
all-stars. But
But
anyways,
just the
let me
name, right?
yeah.
Just the names we put up there.
Let me try and put like some non all-stars on this
Hmm.
list. I'm gonna go back down. I'm gonna size back down. What about Trey Murphy? So we did Herb Jones. What about Trey Murphy? He's like the 3-point shooting version of
Yeah,
Herb Jones.
yeah. I would probably be closer to a yes with Trey. Um, he is having a down start to the season, shooting 34% from three and 40% overall from the field. I'm trying to figure out how old this young man
He's
is these
only
days.
24. He's 24. Yeah.
Oh, well, that swings it back to a positive for him. But I think going outside of I've seen Trey get it done on the NBA stage for a couple of seasons now, I would consider it, but I'd probably still take Dalton because I like Dalton's ceiling potential could be at least Trey Murphy.
Yeah. No, so people know that I've said this before, but I think Dalton Knecht's ceiling potential is like a Devin Booker with less handles and playmaking. I think he could be
Mm,
that type of scorer. But for Trey Murphy, though, I mean, this dude is 6'8". He's been injured this year, which is probably lending to why he's only shooting 34% from three, but he's still averaging 17, 5, and 2.
yeah.
In terms of positional need, the fact that he's 6'8" with like a 7 foot plus wingspan, I would say yes to Trey Murphy, no to Herb Jones. But I understand why you would also say no if you want that. I feel like Dalton is like an easier sort of like, I just want that bona fide bucket getter first,
Yeah.
and then we build everything out around him. Where Trey Murphy's like more of a complimentary, like, hey, we need that Trevor Ariza in his prime sort of piece. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder with a lot of this stuff too. So um,
Where do you fall with like some of the Pistons players, right? So obviously Kate
mhm.
Cunningham, yes,
Yes.
you don't think twice about
Mhm.
it. But what about Jaden Ivey? Like I'm a big
That's
Jaden Ivey guy. He's athletic. He definitely knows how to put pressure on the defense. So where does he fall for you?
That's a good one. I like Jaden Ivey too. He definitely looks a lot better playing against us than other
Yeah,
teams.
right.
So I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment. I think I would still take Dalton in that respect, because there's a scenario where Jaden Ivey just becomes like the next Tyreek Evans, who is also really good at attacking downhill. He's also pretty big and bulky too. Or like
Yeah.
Emmanuel Mudiay, like the first time Emmanuel Mudiay came out of the league, you're like, oh man, he's better than this, this, and this, and now he's out of the league. So it's like,
Yep.
if these dudes never, and I think he's improved his 3-point shooting, but if they never fully improve and become consistent shooters, and then Jaden Ivey's kind of like a weird, like he plays the one, but he's not your tradition. He doesn't have that point guard vision necessarily. So it's
Mm-mm.
like you kind of have to fit him as like a combo guard. And then what if you have a more traditional point guard? Then Jaden Ivey slides over to the two, and then becomes a weird sort of thing. So I think for all those reasons, not that I'm saying that like Jaden Ivey's a bad player or anything like that, but like his fit seems to me, his future seems to be more like a, I don't know, like a Malik Monk or Jordan Clarkson off the bench for me on a winning team.
Mm.
So
Right.
that's why I
Yeah.
would say no.
He definitely could contribute to winning basketball. It's just in what capacity do you want him controlling the ball? I get, and obviously they're different players from the respect of D'Lo is a streakier shooter, right? He definitely has the vision for assists when that's what he chooses to do. But I get similar vibes in the standpoint of point guard or
Mhm.
shooting guard that can dribble, right? You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like
right.
you
Yep. Yep.
can distribute, 4.5 assists a game is not something to just turn your nose up to, but I'm totally with you, right? Trying to figure out what does that do, not just for what can he bring to the table, but what are the pieces around him where it makes sense for everybody, can get a little
Yeah.
stake. But I'm making the trade. I'm getting Jaden.
Okay, that's fair.
I am.
Um,
Yeah.
well, okay, since you said the Pistons, let's do one more Piston. What about Jalen Duren? So the funny thing about Duren is like off the bat, Well, actually, what would you say first?
No, tell me what you have to say. I wanted to look up a couple things on Duran.
Okay, so for Duran, from what I've heard, obviously we don't watch Pistons basketball daily, so we need to fill in the gaps here from other people. But from what I've
Mhm.
heard from Pistons fans and people who actually watch the Pistons, is that Duran is actually not a good defender. He gets like really good stats. He gets like the rebounds and stuff, but like there were times last season when people were like, yeah, Wiseman, James Wiseman actually play better defense than Duran. So
Sheesh.
for me, I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, if that's actually
Mhm.
the case. And honestly, I know this guy's divisive, but from what I've heard too, I've heard that Isaiah Stewart's actually a better defender than Duran, even though he's like 6'8", 6'9". He just has more of that motor and can move his feet better on the perimeter. I like Duran in terms of like the physique. That dude looks like an Adonis,
Right,
broad
right.
shoulders and all this stuff. And he seems like the type of like bulky enforcer that you'd want next to Anthony Davis. But if he still needs like that, if he needs tweaking with regards to like his defensive IQ and stuff, that definitely takes the shine off of him for me. And so I guess for those reasons, I would say no to Jalen Duren, and I would want a more established big who I've seen on a competitive stage actually know how to play defense well. So
Yeah, I agree. I think with defensive questions and him averaging 7 shots a game, right? Like, so I'm not really sure what I'd be picking up besides the physique and frame um, from him. I actually was starting to think myself, I was like, yeah, I wonder if Isaiah Stewart would be a decent question. But I think Stewart on the offensive end, right? Like, he doesn't really try to be
mhm.
that type of player. But I do everything else about Isaiah Stewart, right? You definitely need that on the Lakers. And I think as a whole, bro, I don't know how many of these type of players we've talked about, but the Lakers need a dog,
Yep,
like an asshole out
yeah,
there. And
that's
look,
Isaiah
I don't
Stewart. He's
know,
a goon, dude.
you know what I'm saying? So if we could acquire that while also there be
Yeah,
basketball talents attached to that body, I'm
yep,
ranking that pretty high on our
yeah.
list of needs going into the
Like
season
I
or going
wouldn't
into
trade
this year.
Dalton for Isaiah Stewart straight up. I would trade somebody
No.
else and do whatever it took to get Isaiah Stewart next to
Yes.
Dalton, to protect LeBron James. I know Isaiah and LeBron have had their beef in the
That'd
past and
be a
all this, and
fun
he is.
combo.
I mean, he is a dirty player, but if LeBron James had Isaiah Stewart on his team as his bodyguard, they would fall in love with each other pretty quickly. Same with Anthony Davis. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He's always like in danger of getting kicked out of a game for sure, Ron Artest wise. But hey, we also employed Ron Artest at one point, and he was very valuable to us for a lot of those reasons. So, all right. So, really quickly, staying on this topic of the Lakers needing dogs. Do you know what else the Lakers need? They also need some underdogs, and specifically, they need some underdog fantasy. Because Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports, compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on two or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. The other night, I hit a four-leg parlay with one of my plays being Cam Reddish higher than 4.5 points. Always a super risky play for sure because you're not sure whether Cam Reddish is going to be able to hit his threes. But on that night, Cam Reddish hit both of his threes. He got 6 points. So I was able to cover that prop pretty easily. So thank you, Cam Reddish. But if you guys want to put some money on Cam Reddish, I think you guys would probably want to put it on a much more reliable player. But if you guys want to put some money on a more reliable player by choosing higher or lower on that player, do so today by downloading the Underdog app, signing up, and using code LEGACY and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app, sign up, and use code LEGACY and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Higher or lower, you make the call. Turn every Anthony Davis clutch free throw to ice a game moving forward into some ice for your significant other with Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Okay, so I only want to do like one or two more names, and then I have one last question that I'm gonna kind of curveball at you, which I didn't prep you
Okay.
for. And I'm not trying to be divisive, but you'll see what it is coming up. What about Jalen Suggs?
Mm.
Man, he killed us in the Orlando Magic game when they came to town. Shoot, he was hitting like fadeaway baseline threes that I did not know he could hit. Um, yeah, that was tough.
Johnny, I hated some of his shot selections. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
going
yeah.
in, but I was like, every shot looks like a game winner you were shooting
I
at. I
don't,
think it
I
was
don't
the
think he can
Vanderbilt, right?
normally hit
Or
those. To your point, I don't think he normally hits or takes those shots. So it was
mm-mm.
weird.
But I do like the player. Right now he is a position that the Lakers could use. Right, Suggs, is he a one? Is he officially a one or a two?
He's a one on the Magic, yeah. But I guess he's also
Yeah.
like a combo 3 and D guard, so
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. And I do think that him being viable on the defensive end kind of raises the bar. But I'm swapping out pre-pause, D for D, right? Like,
Mhm.
so am I taking Dalton's D? Whoa, I gotta rephrase all of that. Dalton,
Ooh, clip
wow.
that,
Yeah,
everybody. Am I
yeah,
taking Dalton's D?
that is crazy. Am I? Dalton's 3-point shooting exactly what I meant to say over Jalen's, and then from a defensive end, are you? Jalen obviously has the nod, so I think that might be my most even one that you've brought up.
Mhm.
And part of me wants to lean Jalen, but I'm probably going to leave that as a 50-50 and call the assistant GM to get their advice
Sure.
on that one.
You can say no just because you side with the Lakers. You want to develop your own player in Dalton Connect. So we'll
Right?
say no for
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs for you. I would probably be along the same lines as well. I think Jalen Suggs is like the perfect sort of like if you're a championship team, you need your Derek White. Derek White's a good name. You need your Derek White,
Hmm.
trade for Jalen Suggs. And I don't know, maybe the Magic are on their way in that respect too, because they have a really good team shaping up there with size and length and et cetera, et cetera. Lastly, what about Desmond Bain out of the Memphis Grizzlies?
The muscle hamster.
The
Um,
muscle hamster, yeah.
no, he's too small for me. Small
Yeah.
guys in the playoffs, I'm kind of off of. Even though he did have some good series, right? A couple of games battling with the Lakers, but no, I'm good. I'm good.
So Desmond Bain is actually 6'5", but he does have like a T-Rex arms. So that's why I think he's called
What?
muscle hamster. Yeah, Desmond Bain's 6'5". Um, but he does have a very small or short wingspan. What is it? Okay, so the reason why people call Desmond Bain T-Rex or muscle hamster is because he has a 6'4" wingspan, and then so it's actually his wingspan is actually shorter than his height.
Bro,
But
that's
that
unheard
said,
of.
what's crazy about Desmond Bain is like if Dalton can eventually learn to utilize the gravity that he creates off of his own shot to become a better playmaker, and then he continues to develop his defensive IQ. I actually like Desmond Bain as a sort of like aspirational player for Dalton to try and become. I don't think he'll ever be like the playmaker Desmond Bain is because I think
Mm,
Desmond Bain is perennial, like he averages like 5 or 6 assists. But in terms of like, hey, here's a shooting guard who can kind of do more than just shoot. And I think Dalton can already do more than just shoot now. And I like to call Dalton right now like a 3 and D player, a 3 and dunks player, because he gets a lot of threes, he gets a lot of
yeah.
dunks. Like that's kind of like a rare combination to have in a player. So I really like Desmond Bain, but kind of to your same point about Jalen Suggs and it being 50-50 with Dalton, I'll just side with the Laker in this respect and say, no, I'll take Dalton instead. And I think Desmond Bain is an older prospect. I think that's why he slipped in the draft. He's not that much older, but he's 26. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say no to Desmond Bain and just hope that we can develop Dalton Connect into like a higher ceiling sort of Desmond Bain in the future. Um, all right, so that'll do it for my list of players. Ricky, thanks for contributing some of your own. Um, I don't know if we really got anything. I don't know if we had any concrete takeaways from that. Just that obviously we would trade Dalton Connect if for established help right now, but I
Yeah.
think clearly based off of our answers, we're also very high on Dalton Connect. And a lot of these can sort of flip either way depending on just how much you believe in the Lakers' new developmental, system that they have going on at El Segundo. But I do have one last question for you, Ricky, with regards to Dalton. Um, and I have to choose my words very carefully here. I'm not trying to be divisive, I swear. I'm not saying that I want to trade this player that I'm about to bring up. But walk with me a little bit and let's take it back to 2022-23. And let's say Kyrie Irving was available once again and the Nets were ready to trade Kyrie to the Lakers. And outside of the first round picks, the only other player going out of consequence on the Lakers end would have been who did the Nets want in that Kyrie Irving trade?
They wanted
Ricky.
AR, right?
They wanted AR. So now let's take it back to that year. Let's say we had Dalton Connect in that year. And they said, we want either Austin Reaves or Dalton Connect, and you get Kyrie Irving. I think a lot of us would say, like, well, actually, I don't know. I don't want to speak for anybody, but let's say that's the decision you have. And it doesn't even have to be about Kyrie Irving anymore. Let's say whoever the new hot Kyrie Irving is, like moving forward. A team says, hey, this player is yours. Any one of the players that we said yes to. Now put Austin Reaves into the frame with Dalton Connect. If you had the option to swap Dalton or to swap Austin Reaves for Dalton Connect instead and make him the sacrificial white lamb in that trade package, who are you trading?
Huh. AR or Dalton? You're right. This is a sacrilegious question, bro. Um I
How much do you
am
want to be retweeted, Ricky, when this comes out? Just kidding.
yeah, no, that's nasty. I feel like I would have to trade AR first just because there's more reputation to the name. The product is out there for other teams because regardless, a big boy has to be coming back, right?
Mhm,
So I am going to dry my tears of the Austin Reeves departure because Zach Levine's on the way in, or
mhm.
I don't even want to really say Brandon Ingram. That my heart would still hurt for Austin, but someone of that
That's
ilk.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say AR just so I can hold on to Dalton's, just they already game plan for his shooting, man. And not say that
Mhm.
they don't
Yep.
for Austin, but if this is a rookie doing this, I need to see a little bit more of this runway and take off before I say, yep, just flip him, get him gone.
Yep. No, I
That was tough.
100%.
Wow.
So I brought this up maybe like I probably brought this up way too early in the season, but I saw someone on X was like, who would you trade for Walker Kessler? Would you trade Dalton Connect for Walker Kessler? And I quote tweeted that tweet, Ricky, and I said, I would trade Austin Reeves first. And then that tweet blew up, and everybody was like, are you freaking insane? But this was
Oh
like
my god.
before Dalton went on his run, right? And I was trying to tell people, look, it's not that I want to trade Austin, but in a hypothetical scenario where I'm forced to pick between the two, I'm going with the upside of Dalton Connect, who is a 3 and D threes and dunk player. I mean, God forbid I go with the taller player, the more athletic player, the more explosive scorer. I know Austin Reeves is a better playmaker. I know right now he's the better defender, but that's because he also has the experience behind him. Like talk to me in at the even just at the end of this year, not even 2 years. Who is Dalton Connect already by the end of this year? Given how fast he's grown in just what like
Hmm.
5 games of just getting usage and opportunity, and right now he's still being used in that like Klay Thompson just run around and don't dribble the ball role. Think about what happens when they give him the ball to run high pick and roll, the way that Austin Reeves gets the opportunity to do because he's already
Yep.
proven him. Dalton can do those same things, man. And then not only can he do those same things, he'll take you to the cup and hammer it over your head. So
Yep.
that's kind of why I'm picking Dalton. Now, let's say the playoffs were to
Mhm.
start tomorrow and the Lakers need to get a win. I'm going with Austin over Dalton
Right.
because I know Austin has proven it. But if we're talking about the end of this year and moving forward, yeah, I would like to hold on to Dalton just to see what his ceiling is, because I know people don't want to hear this, and I'm not trying to cap Austin's ceiling, but he's 26, 27. We
Right.
kind of know who Austin is. It's a very good player, but I don't think he's all of a sudden becoming, I don't know, name All-Star X here. You know what I mean? He's not getting more hops or whatever. He can continue to get smarter, et cetera, et cetera. This is not, again, a knock on Austin Reaves, but again, I just see, to your point, a little bit more runway in terms of ceiling with Dalton Knecht right now. So
Yeah. Last thing about AR, right? And I think with him having, and I think it's your point about the age, right? We're getting much closer to the finished product of Austin Reaves. And if Dalton at least just hits the full growth potential of what we're seeing today, I think they're just two different ceilings of basketball players. I I don't think this matters in the grand scheme of things because you take a Jokic, and he was a second round pick, right? And he ended up being MVP multiple times, going to go into a Hall of Fame. But when you look at Austin, who was undrafted, in Dalton, who was just outside of a lottery pick, right? By nature, you think one will have a higher ceiling and potential to get to a a bigger a bigger role and a bigger standing on the NBA level. So Austin is doing amazing things for the Lakers. That was found gold, right?
mhm.
Um, Dalton is, I wouldn't say gold as the six, what was it, 16th, right? Yeah, I wouldn't say gold, but definitely platinum. You'd expect it to do something, right? And
Mhm.
let's see. You keep working with it and see where it ends up. But I'm happy we are just back to having a cornucopia of white shooters on our team. It seems like every other NBA franchise has them except for the Lakers. We have two. Not in
Yep.
a hurry to get rid of either one, as I know you're
Yep.
not, but it's a good problems to have right now. Lakers
Yeah.
got other problems besides their
Yep. Yep.
3-point shooters. Those two.
The only time gentrification has looked good is on the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right, with that said, let's end it right there. Ricky, thank you for joining me on this segment that was only supposed to be 20 minutes max, but you know how we do.
You
So
know how we
with that
do.
said, yeah, that'll do it. Ricky, do you want to take us out with your plugs again, just to remind everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, always a pleasure, Johnny. Make sure you're following Late Night Lakers on Twitter, Late Night Lake Show everywhere else, including Blue Sky. Don't know if I'll actually be over there for real, but we're setting up shop. We're getting things ready, right? In case we need to make that switch. But as always, man, it's always a pleasure coming on and checking in with the Lakers Legacy Pod. So appreciate you.
Cool. Thanks, Ricky. See ya.
Thank you.